right, I'm back here with another NewScott interview. This time I'm back with a guy that's actually in Japan right now, The Last Samurai, Matrix, and Daniel D-Man Parker. How you doing today?
Not too bad. Well, it's definitely my night, your day, but still.
Right now you're recording this from the Zero1 Dojo, is that correct?
Yeah, so literally 0-1 ring behind me and just panorama view right now.
That's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Can't really complain, minus the Wi-Fi being down at the house, but
Take what you can get, right?
hey, could be worse.
Could be worse. Were you a fan of professional wrestling growing up?
Honestly, as a little kid, I hated wrestling. Like, like the Rock Stone Cold era, I hated it. Just hated it.
Oh,
It was about late 2003 that I liked wrestling or started to like wrestling.
who were your favorite guys to watch then? What made you get into it?
Well, to be honest, like never liked wrestling as a kid, and I was just flipping through the channel. I think I was like 11 or 12, one of those, and then I just happened to catch Tajiri and Jamie Noble, and they're the ones that made me stop the TV and just be like, "Oh, what's this?" But like it was Benoit and Eddie that were the two that made me like fall in love with wrestling,
Oh, that's awesome.
because it was just that era when they just won the respective world titles for each brand.
2004.
Yeah, that was the year that hooked me and
Nice.
made me fall in love with wrestling.
Um, what made you decide to get trained?
Honestly, like I really liked it, and just as a kid growing up, I knew like I wanted to entertain people, and just I always liked action sports, right? Like superheroes. So like between all of that, that was it. But it was when after I went to my first live wrestling show, that was like, okay, this is what I want to do for my life.
Who trained you?
So at first I started off with like my hometown, like while I was still in high school. I was like pretty much borderline backyarders and stuff, right? And like they had like a ring in the backyard, so like after school, like I would walk down like maybe about 10 minutes down the road from my high school and then go there and I would train there. I trained for like a whole summer. So I did that for a year, and then that's how I met Chris Thorne through TWA. And then literally we had a show the day before I went off to university at Brock University. So like I paid my investment fee, or like my initial like installment, and then first month I was like, okay, cool, we're all ready to go. And then I started training at TWA in St. Catharines for a year while I was at Brock.
Who was the head trainer there?
Chris Thorne.
Okay.
He did some WWE like for like a year. He was on the road with them doing like extra work and stuff like that, like dark matches.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um, you eventually you did some training with Santino Morella at Battle Arts too, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so Battle Arts opened 2014. No, 2013, September 2013, Battle Arts opened. So I started training there the February of the following year. Training there. It was actually really funny because like the first time I went in, I was like, after I was like, yeah, I don't know how often I'm gonna be able to come, right? Like, cause I live pretty far away. Cause at that point I was like about an hour and a half drive away from the actual school. So he's like, "Oh, whereabouts are you from?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm from Northern Ontario." He's like, "Yeah, whereabouts?" I was like, "Oh, you probably wouldn't know it." He's like, "No, try me." I was like, "Oh, I'm like just north of Barrie." He's like, "Yeah, whereabouts north of Barrie?" I'm like, "Oh, just like 45 minutes." He's like, "Yo, yeah, but where?" I was like, "Oh, like Midland area, like Penetang." And he's like, "Oh, no way, my mom's from there." So I was like, it was a small world, a
That's funny.
funny connection that way. Yeah.
When you first started wrestling, you wrestled mostly shows in Ontario. Who did you work for?
When I first started, like my first year was basically with that like backyard promotion and stuff. Oh, just one sec.
After you got
Second.
trained, who did you work for the most? Like, who did you work for?
So, you know what? Back at that time in Ontario, there was a lot of promotions coming in and out, right? So like my thing was like I wanted to wrestle anywhere and everywhere. So like my first year was like while I was still in high school was with like my home promotion and stuff back in like Midland, and then the next year was a lot of TWA stuff and Chris Thorne, but that's also where I met Buck Gunderson too, right? Ross Aitken, and through them, like he actually just saw me at a show, and I just luckily did a a moonsault from the apron to the floor on two guys. Like caught me, right? And just from there, he's like, "Oh, I don't know, but like I might have a spot for you at a show." So like it was through Wrestle Crisis and stuff, and like with him, I ended up traveling all over the place. I remember went for like my first weekend tour, and I was like, it was me and Smith Hart in the back seat, and just well, that guy's a character if you've ever met him.
Nice. No, I met a few of the Hearts, but not him.
Oh, it might be a blessing in
Yeah.
disguise too.
Um,
I was the same weekend he drew swastikas on kids' hands at a show.
well, that's a funny story. Not Smith, but there
Yeah.
was a tour down here in 2002. A guy fell asleep in the back of the van, and they drew swastikas on his forehead. He didn't know they were
Oh,
there.
that's
He got up and went into the restaurant to eat food with the swastikas on his face.
oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Terrible, but
Yeah.
great.
um, did you work outside of Ontario before you came to the Maritimes for Beauty Slammers?
Yeah, I did Rochester, New York for Upstate Pro Wrestling.
Nice.
Yeah,
How did you get involved with the Beauty Slammers tour?
that was kind of a fluke, right? So like I was like probably like I was skinny, like super skinny. Like I know I'm still skinny. No, I'm
You were in good
still
shape though.
skinny now, but like yeah, no, I've always been in good shape, but like I was probably like when I started, I was probably like 110
Oh
pounds.
wow.
Oh yeah, no, I was tiny,
Is that when
but
you were
like I was
bigger,
really
or
work.
you were a bit bigger than that?
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no, no. When I was there, I was like about
Okay.
150
You're
ish,
huge then.
around there. Yeah, I comparatively speaking, but no. Sorry. Through the beauty slammers, it was kind of a fluke, right? So like me and Kate, as a rib for one promotion in Oshawa, GCW, they put me against girls, right? Because I was really small. But it was supposed to be like a one shot gimmick, but it ended up becoming the most over segment on their show. So for like a whole year there, I wrestled girls, and one of the main girls that I wrestled was Caitlin Diamond, right? Who was also on the Beauty Slammers tour, and who actually just left
Yeah.
Japan earlier this
I'm gonna
week.
be doing one of these with her soon, I think.
Oh no way,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Yeah, I know. She's awesome. But she knew I was like training really hard and like working hard on getting my weight up and like she's like, "Yeah, you were the first person that like thought to when it like came about so like, oh yeah, we need a guy and stuff for the tour, right?" I was like, oh, "Okay, cool." And I had a car which so I was like, "Okay, sweet, I can drive." And like I had no problem driving, so I was like, "Okay, sweet, set in stone." And that's how it ended up working out.
What were your thoughts on getting to tour with Serena Deeb and Sarah Stock?
Honestly, that was really cool. Like it's actually me and Serena are actually really good friends now, which is just the irony of that. She ended up coming to stay at the house because she knew Santino Anthony from back in OVW and stuff. So I was living with him for over a year last year. Him and Yuki Ishikawa, I was living with the two of them, and she knew him, so she came and stayed at the house with us for a month last year. So like we became even better friends because of it. But honestly, just like cool little knowledge. Like one thing that I took from Serena is she always walks to the ring really slow, and like I used to like kind of like sprint and like go to the ring really fast, but I don't do that at all anymore. But I never told her that, so
Yeah, I noticed. I don't know if it was her WWE training or not, but she engages more from walking to the ring than anyone like I've seen come around this area in a long time. She gets like each and every fan like involved in everything she's doing.
oh yeah, they're like and it's just you have so
Yeah.
much time going through there, and like that's like the one time where all eyes are on you for sure, right?
And Sarah?
Because like Sarah, she was doing stuff with Bambi Hall, like different like arm drag variations and stuff from like a
Torture Rack? Yeah.
torture rack. Yeah, I was like mind gap there. But no, I was there was that one cool, and it turned into an arm drag. I was like, oh man, that's sweet. And like I would just keep practicing that and watch that. But Sarah's really cool too, right? And just I don't know, I got two good friends out of it. So
Thoughts on that? She's now a trainer with WWE.
honestly, that's the best thing for her too. Like, cause she was doing a bunch of stuff in Mexico and stuff, but and Japan too. But honestly, I think that's the best role for her because I don't know, she's so engaging. And there was one point in the tour where stuff kind of went south and not the best, and it was one of those things where it's like, no, we're getting everything done. We're gonna sell a bunch of tickets. We're gonna go out, hustle the towns, and like she was the one with me, just like, okay, let's do this and get it. So like, it couldn't happen to a nicer
Yeah, I've
person.
known Sarah since pretty much she started in wrestling, and there's been no, I've never seen another person with as much drive and passion to get where she wants to go than her. Like no one else comes close.
See, and that's the thing, right? Like everybody that's focused on and goal oriented like that, like you'll go
Yeah,
as far as you want, and that's that as long as you believe in yourself.
I
Sky's the limit.
agree 100%. What were your overall thoughts on the Beauty Slammers tour? You know, the canceled shows, the everything that happened. I just did an interview last week with Devin, the promoter, and he put it all out. So there's nothing not out there. So you can talk about whatever you want.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was like, oh, how honest do you
No,
want me to be
he
about
talked
that?
about the not being able to pay everybody. He talked about the canceled shows. He talked about pretty much everything.
Did he say that he still owes like everybody
He
still
did,
money?
and he said that he was still trying to pay everybody money. I don't know if you've been in contact with him or not, but he said in the
Ah,
interview that he is still trying to pay people. He said Serena got some of her money,
well,
I believe.
well, honestly, I like to believe in the good of every person, so like I won't talk negatively, but hopefully it'd be nice to see my pay from that, but I don't count on
What were
it.
your thoughts on the tour, though? Like in general.
Honestly, like the group, probably one of the coolest groups ever. Like I had so much fun just with the group of people, and even like the one day that we had the first canceled show, and we were stuck in like hotel day. That was the day after the army base show, and like we met some of the army dudes, and they're like, "Yeah, come back." So like it was like me, Bambi, Cody, Bia, and Sarah. We all went to like the army base, and we're like climbing on tanks. They're like, "Yeah, it's cool, just go climb." And we're all being little monkeys and stuff. It was just honestly, I like to look at the positives, not the negatives, just on anything in life. So even with that, we got to go travel around the Maritimes, which is just cool. Like we're getting to travel, we get to go see as much as possible, right? And just like some of the little towns and stuff, like Miramichi was my favorite town, and that was the town that it was like we were stuck in the hotel, stuff was canceled the day before, and that was the show where we're like, no, we're gonna. Devin had a breakdown, like a
Yeah.
nervous breakdown and stuff. Went to the AA meeting, and we're just like, okay, we have the van, we're going, we're gonna get a bunch of tickets made up, we're gonna get a bunch of flyers made up. We went to the Staples, printed off a bunch of stuff, and then went to the town and hustled as much as possible. And just luckily, it was just so funny. They had a fish day, so big. So just in this one small town, the whole town shuts down for that day. Wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning, hops on boats, goes fishing, and comes back at like 7:30. So like we just like lucked out in like the day that it was the same day as the show. So like handing out flyers and stuff, and just it. I'm pretty sure it was our most busiest show, to be
Which
honest
town
with
was
you.
that? Miramichi.
Miramichi. It's like a small
Yeah,
little
I
fishing
know
town,
where
but
it is.
it was my favorite town in
Nice.
the whole tour. They're so beautiful. Like I forget the town we actually stayed in, but that was really cool too because there was a bunch of trails and stuff, and like there was something floating in the water. We couldn't figure out what it was that night, but it was too dark.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I like the places with the nature and stuff, and that was really cool.
um,
But yeah, and then even Jeannie
yeah,
there too, right? She was.
Hollywood.
I
Yeah.
brought my skateboard.
Yeah.
Hollywood
No, no,
kayfabe. But no, she was even riding my skateboard and stuff, and it was just funny. So she'd be like throwing all the boxes on my skateboard and pushing it on there. So it was just too funny. But honestly, the group of people was awesome. Rumble was sweet, and just if it was gonna happen where shit was gonna go down on a tour, like it couldn't happen to a better group that of like positive people that are just like, okay, you know what, it's great. We're gonna make the best out of a shitty
definitely.
situation.
And it probably brought you guys closer to be like, because you're all stuck there together, you know?
Oh yeah, we're we're living
Yeah.
travelly all together at that point.
That group's still up, eh, on Facebook? Yeah.
Oh, is it really? Oh, I have
Yeah.
no idea. That's hilarious.
After the Beauty Slammers tour ended, you went back to Ontario. What did you do?
Yeah. After that, I went back to training at Santino's and wrestling and stuff, right? All throughout province of Ontario. I did another little bit in the States, just upstate New York. There, VCW was like my main home, and then Barrie Wrestling. too was another main one, and then battle arts.
You're in Japan. You've worked for Zero1 FMW. Is that correct? How did that
Yep.
all happen? How did a kid from Ontario get to Japan?
I was just lucky. So like, I was training at battle arts for probably a good 6 months, doing a drive from like hour and a half up north to like the actual school in Mississauga, like 3 times a week. So I'd be driving there and back. So it'd be like an hour and a half there, an hour and a half back at night, and like we wouldn't finish sometimes to like 11, maybe 12 o'clock at night, depending on if we had tape review after like a show and stuff. And I was just like, okay, this is a little ridiculous and a lot of money, and it's a waste of time, right? Time is money, and like me spending all 3 hours driving 3 times a week to the city is just like, you know what, I might as well move down to the city. So I ended up moving down to the city. I just lucked out. I ended up moving in with Yuki Ishikawa, head trainer at Battle Arts, who was also the Battle Arts legend that and a Japanese legend that created Battle Arts in Japan too. And then I also live with Santino Morella, aka Anthony Crielli, or I guess the other way around, but. So it was through them, and I had the opportunity. So like literally every day it'd be like the same thing. We'd have MMA at 3:30 for an hour, which would always go later, right? Because we always still do stuff like maybe like 5 o'clock ish, and then we'd do teach kids class. Kids class would be 6 to 7, and then 7 o'clock would be like submission wrestling, and then pro wrestling after that. So like that was like my schedule like, every day pretty much for like almost a year. And then it was through Yuki Ishikawa that I had the opportunity to go to Japan here. It's like, okay, you don't have any guarantee, just an opportunity to come and train here, and then it's basically up to you to make the most out of it.
Was there a big culture shock for you going from Ontario to Japan?
Yes and no, right? Like, I don't know. Like, my thing was, like, I always liked the travel part of wrestling. That was, like, my favorite part. And, like, I'm always saying I want to go see the world and see as much of it as possible before I die. So, like, that travel part was easy. Like, being away from home wasn't really that hard. It was more just, like, okay, figuring out the Japanese customs. But, like, I don't know, if you got a good head on your shoulders, you can pick that stuff up quick. And luckily, like, with Toy, too, like, Ishikawa-san, like, I already knew some Japanese because he helped teach me some. So that language gap
Nice.
wasn't too bad.
That's good. Um,
Yeah, no, it's definitely helped me out.
who are some of the guys that you've worked over there?
Yokoyama, I've worked a bunch of times. I got Hidaka tomorrow, Ikuto Hidaka, who was also trained by Yuki Ishikawa too, and like the original Battle Arts, and like the head trainer here in Japan. Who else? We got Sean Guinness, Workuka, Obata, James Riding.
Is the style a lot different over there than what you're used to?
I guess wrestling has a universal language, so like it's all pretty much the same, right? Maybe like how they like structure a match is just a little bit different, but I have to credit like Ishikawa-san and like the teachings at Battle Arts, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be prepared for it. I did a 0-1 tryout like 3 years ago, right before Battle Arts even opened and was a thing, and just obviously I didn't make it. Sebastian Suave did, and he was the one that got over here. But still, I just think it's really ironic that like 3 years later, I'm over here, right? But if I didn't have that training with Ishikawa-san and all the submission wrestling and the grappling, like I wouldn't have been able to
How long
do
have you
this
been over
properly.
there now?
Just over 4 months now. I got another like less than 2 months now
And then
before I head back
going
home.
back in the fall?
Yeah, so I'll be home for 3 months, June, July, and August, and then I head back in September for 3 months. I'll be home for December, and then I'm back for 6 months, it's looking like. Unless something changes, yeah. But trying to keep everything as open as possible to whatever unexpected opportunities like brings.
Right now in your career, if you could put one match on a DVD to show somebody what you do, what match would you choose?
I would choose my FMW match, actually. It's probably my favorite match that I've had ever. And like, I was always asked, "Oh, what's your favorite match? What's your favorite match?" And I could like name like a top 3-ish, but like never like a number one. But after that one, like that was
that
like
match
number
against?
one. But if it was myself, here, give me 1 sec. I actually have it. See, I'm terrible with Japanese.
Yeah, well, that's quite understandable.
See, that's why I
Yeah.
write this stuff down, right? So it makes my life a lot easier.
At least you can read
Okay,
it.
let's see here. Uh, yeah. Well,
Oh,
no, I
okay,
get the
okay.
translation, right?
Yeah,
Technology's kicks butt these days. I don't
yeah.
know how people
I
did
don't
it
know, man.
back 20 years ago. Like
Jericho,
Jericho
Benoit
and those
was
guys were
rough.
over here. I don't know how they did it. See, I don't think they stayed for as long as I did, though, too, right? Well, I know Benoit stayed for 6 months, but yeah. So it was my tag partners were Ricky Fuji and Shiro Kashinaka versus Takayama and
Nice.
Kanemura and Nasu
So
Katora.
it was a tag
Katora.
match? It was a six man.
So it was a
Okay.
six, yeah,
Nice.
six man
And
tag.
that was for FMW, you said? Oh,
FMW at
that's
Cork and
pretty
Hall.
sweet.
Yeah, yeah. So it was my debut for FMW, and it
That's
was at
awesome.
Cork and Hall, which was cool. Just everything about that match was just awesome. It was like I couldn't have
Now,
asked for it
what are
better.
your thoughts on the effort a pro wrestler needs to have in the gym, training, and getting booked other places? I ask everybody this question, and it really pertains to you because you've put on a ton of size. You're in Japan, like so. What do you?
Yeah.
What do guys have to do?
Honestly, like I look at it this way, I train every day, like weights. Every day we do weights, right? And then like we'll have our regular training on top of that too. It's just one of those things that like you have to do. You have to have like somewhat of a look. Like even being skinnier, like I never looked like I was like fat skinny, right? Or like baby fat skinny. It was always like okay, muscular skinny. And like even now, like I'm not like 200 pounds, but like I'm like around 76 kilograms right now, which is
Too sweet.
awesome. Dude, like I've added 10
That's awesome.
kilograms since being in Japan. Yeah, well, I technically lost 5 working so
What's
much
that?
to
Ten
like afford
kilograms is
this,
like 28
but
pounds or 24 pounds or something. Yeah.
something like that. I'm not too sure like the exact conversion, but like I know 75 kilograms is 165, so like just over that.
Um.
Yeah, but honestly, I think the you have to have like conditioning. But I've seen guys like with like killer bodies that like they're like okay, you have like the supposed look, but they get in the ring and they can't function, they can't move, right? And especially like with UFC and just everything, it's the game's changed from like really big men, like where nobody really wants to see it, where like that CrossFit athletic style
Right. Like
look
it's
now,
kind of like Seth
right?
Rollins, right?
And yeah, and just I don't know, I feel like maybe like 10, 20 years ago, yeah, it was like big man body slams, that sort of thing, but nobody wants to watch that style of wrestling anymore, right? Like you might have the odd person that might like
Yeah.
still likes that,
People
but
want to see
it's more
exactly.
of
People
a
want to see
athletic.
more athletic style now.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, you still have everything make sense, right? Like I feel like a lot of people do too much, and it's just like you don't need to do too much, right? Like people aren't gonna remember all those high spots, right? Like I'm not a big high spot person, but like there's a lot of gymnastics involved, and just amateur wrestling, jujitsu style, judo, kickboxing, and it's just I feel like to be truly successful is to be able to
I,
do all
I
that,
agree. I agree totally.
right?
Caitlin Diamond, you brought her up. She was recently in Japan too. Did you guys get to meet
Yes.
up over there?
Yeah, I would see her a few times a week because she would have training like after we would have training. So like I would say at least 3 times a week I would see her, and like we would go hang out every now and again whenever we both had like time off and stuff. We'd all go out in the group, all the
That must be pretty
gaijins.
cool though. Like you guys met in Ontario, you worked there, you came to the Maritimes together, and then you were in Japan together. You know?
We think it's funny. It's just like okay, like where does our life actually like take us, right? And like you never know like who you're gonna meet like on this crazy journey and stuff, and like how many times you're gonna cross path with this person. But like I don't know, like I would say
Yeah.
she's like my wrestling twin, right? Like because like Deebs, like Serena Deebs is like my wrestling big sister, but like Caitlin Diamond, I would say is like my wrestling twin, right? Like we just keep crossing paths here and there, and just like wanted goal oriented, same people we looked up to as kids, right? So I just think it's funny from like TWA because like she did the school too, right? She was a little ahead of me and a few years ahead at the time though when I started there, But like from TWA, we did GCW where we worked each other pretty much for a whole year with a program, right? And then Beauty Slammers after that, and then now over here in Japan, it's just okay. Where else are we
Yeah.
going to see each other
Mexico,
next?
Puerto Rico.
Honestly, who knows at this point? Like, I wouldn't put anything past it. Hopefully,
Yeah,
like NXT would be
it's
cool, but I think I got like 1 or 2 more years before we actually seriously
is
consider
that your
that.
end goal? Is that the way you want to go?
Oh yeah, WWE is the end goal for sure. I think it has to be for everybody, right? Like my main goal though was Japan, right? Like I did not care about getting to WWE at all before I went to Japan. Like Japan, like I had to get to Japan, 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 Japan. Like even growing up as a kid, like watching the Benoit DVD, like New Japan is just like okay, Japan was like my main goal for wrestling. But now I'm here and it's just like okay, well,
Yeah.
on to the next goal. Yeah, well that's right. Don't get me wrong, I still want to ride the Japan wave for as long as possible, right? Like, because I'm having a blast over here. Everyone's so nice and respectful, and just it's amazing. Just the craziest opportunity. Like, I think of everyone back home that would actually like kill for this opportunity that I have, and that's like also the motivation in the back of my head where like when I'm tired, I'm like, ah, I don't want to do one more set. It's like, no, I gotta do one more set. Let's go. I think of like everyone back home that would just kill for this opportunity. It's like, okay, I'm literally representing everyone for back home, so I can't let
Do you
everyone
have
down.
any closing comments for any friends or family or fans that may be watching this?
Honestly, go check out my
What's the
DTV
address?
vlogs
What's the
on
address?
YouTube. So it's youtube.com/c/DTV yo yo.
Send it to
Let
me
me
and I'll
double
put it in
check.
the links in the description.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it'll show like right there. So like this like I'll
yeah,
follow this link, click right
yeah.
here, sort of thing. Post production. Because I was gonna say, yeah, so it's youtube.com/c/DTVO.
Sweet.
Also
What's
follow me on
yours?
Instagram.
I'll do that. I'll put all your stuff in there. I have you on everything. All right. I just want to thank you for taking the time out to do this interview. I know your schedule is crazy busy over there, and I think it's pretty
At
sweet.
6 a.m. we leave tomorrow morning for Fukushima. It's the one where that nuclear reactor kind of blew up or whatever.
Oh,
So it's the one where I got to make sure I fill my water bottle up here in Tokyo and don't drink any of the water there.
nice. Don't drink the water.
No, that's just the one place.
All right. Well, again, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out to do this interview. I really appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries, man. Do this again soon sometime.
Absolutely.
Maybe from a different country.
That's right. Yeah. Every country we go to, we'll have to do an interview.
Cool. I'm down for that.
All right. Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll be doing a bunch of these interviews then.